For more on Obama's visit, I'm joined here in the studio by Nii Akuetteh. He specializes in African affairs and has spent more than 3 decades working to assist in Africa's development. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Why Africa and why now? The U.S. president is nearing the end of his term in office, and this is his first visit to Kenya since he has been president.
I think there are both positive and negative reasons. Negative reasons that went away, which is that the president of Kenya, President Kenyatta, who had this ICC charge hanging over his head for all that time when Mr. Obama first got in. I happen to believe that that is what kept him away. Frankly, I work with human rights and democracy groups here in Washington. We would have given him a hard time if he had gone at that time with the charges hanging over President Kenyatta. But also, with that removed, that paved the way. But I think another reason was the Al-Shabaab attacks and the fighting in Yemen. Both have repercussions in Somalia and therefore into Kenya. So I think the terrorism issue and the fact that Mr. Kenyatta doesn't have those charges hanging over him made it easy for him to go. I happen to think that he's been dying to go to his father's country, but these other issues kept him away.
Well, that being said, let's look at other parts of Africa. It's been a big priority for China for quite some time now. We've seen Chinese leaders visit various parts of China, despite maybe some of the concerns that you mentioned, security concerns especially. And President Obama mentioned the other day that the African continent has the potential to be the next center of global economic growth. So is the United States playing catch up here to China and to Europe?
I think the objective answer is yes, because both the European Union and China, especially in the last, say, 10, 20 years, their relations with Africa have surged, and the U.S. has been more or less static. However, I think it's important to emphasize that for the U.S., especially compared to China, these are private corporations that don't really listen to the government. You kindly mentioned that I've been doing this work for a long time. I've been in Washington over 30 years. I keep talking to the corporations and other American entities, and so I don't think it is the government. In fact, the U.S. just passed, reauthorized what they call AGOA, the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, which is meant to allow African goods in here and in a way to entice American businesses there. So I do think they are trying to, they are behind China and the Europeans, but I don't fault the Washington government for that. I fault them for other things, but not for the trade issue.
What do you expect to hear and want to hear in the coming days as Mr. Obama speaks at a global entrepreneurship forum and then he speaks before the African Union? What are you looking out for?
I'm looking out to see whether he will emphasize democracy. You know, the first time he went to Africa was 6 years ago in Ghana. And there his only theme was Africa needs democracy, strong institutions. Since then, he's gone to several other countries. And to me, the democracy has fallen off. Last year when the African leaders were here, they emphasized trade and investment, 33 billion. Now, security is a big issue for him. My concern is that with the focus on security and trade, democracy is falling off their radar. And there are a number of African countries, again, with the African community here in the U.S. We want more democratic governance across Africa, and therefore we push the U.S. and we push President Obama himself to emphasize democracy. So I'm hoping he will emphasize democracy both in Kenya and in Addis.
How do you think he'll be received during his time there?
I think that's the easiest part of this interview. People are extremely excited. They've spruced up every place. Where his father is buried in Western Kenya, Nairobi has been spruced up. In fact, some people are saying that the Kenyans say Obamacare actually means cleaning up Nairobi. So they are very excited. I think in a way, when he leaves Sunday to go to Addis, people will be disappointed that he was there for only such a short time. But for those 3 days, the excitement is extremely high.
All right, Nii Akuetteh, we appreciate your time. As always, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.